Welcome back to Groomer Tales, a podcast by Groomer's Choice. I'm your host, Natasha. In this episode, I sit down with Denise Heroux. She is a groomer, a salon owner, an educator, and co-founder of the Pet Stylist Relief Fund. Denise shares her path from early career uncertainty to owning 3 grooming salons, including a cat-only facility. She also became a strong advocate for groomer support and education. We talk about burnout, employee retention, financial stability, and what it really takes to build a sustainable grooming business. She also explains the mission behind the Pet Stylist Relief Fund, how it supports groomers facing unexpected hardship, and why bringing this resource back to the industry was so important to her. This episode is a powerful reminder that groomers don't have to do it alone. Please enjoy this conversation with Denise Heroux. So we're here with Denise Heroux, and you are one of the founders of the Pet Stylist Relief Fund, among other things, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, a lot on that list, but
yeah.
yes.
But where are you from originally? What was the dream when you were a kid? Did you always want to work with pets? Let's start from the start.
All the way from the beginning. Wow, that's a long time. No, so I am actually in the Cleveland, Ohio area. I've lived here my whole entire life. I had the same, I think, growing up, I think where a lot of groomers come from, we come from broken pasts and we tend to, like to gravitate towards animals. So I've always had a love for animals. I always felt connected with them. And they were sort of my saving grace in my childhood home. So loved my dogs to pieces. I had a lot of small animals. And my goal was to be a vet. I think like everyone else's.
It comes up a lot on this podcast that I thought maybe vet, but I think that's because most people didn't know pet grooming was even an option growing up. All we're ever told about is vet, doctor, lawyer, astronaut, baseball player. Like those are, or teacher. Like those are the ones we know about as a kid.
Right. I knew, listen, we had shepherds. So I've been grooming 28 years. So, I mean, grooming wasn't what it is now. I started before corporate existed, and I had no clue it was even a thing because we had a shepherd mix, never got groomed. My grandparents' dogs lived outside, it was the whole thing back then. And so, I didn't even know grooming was an option.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I've worked here about 2 years. I knew there were dog groomers, but even growing up, the pets we had, like you said, didn't really need grooming. Like we had a beagle. It didn't require a whole lot, And then even as far as at home grooming, I think we gave it a bath like 3 times. It just wasn't a thing really,
It wasn't. I think it was springtime we did flea dips, right? That's all.
Yeah.
That's what I remember growing up as a kid was we did flea dips once a year type thing. And that's all I really remember my dog getting groomed or bathed.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I didn't even know it was a thing.
Growing up, I'm sure you had some other jobs before you got into grooming. Did you wait tables? Did you work at a bank? Was there something else before this?
So in high school, my career sort of started in high school, actually.
Oh, okay.
We have a local career center that happens to have an animal care program, and you go your junior and your senior year. So minus the random jobs at 15, working at a garden center, working retail, my lovely childhood, and I'm sure this will resonate with a lot of people who are listening. I was actually a dishwasher at the bar my parents drank at when I was 15. So it was like it was like a whole wonderful, I'm a 15-year-old now. I'm like, wow, that was not normal. So anyways, it was normal, but it was not normal.
I kind of grew up in bars too, because my dad was on like a pool league and a dart league.
Yeah.
And, so we'd go.
Bowling.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Bowling. Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay.
So yeah, that was my normal. And so no, I always, because of the vet thing and the animal care program, I ended up going there my junior and senior year, and they had three rotations. 3 rotations we went through. And those rotations were a pet shop. So learning how to do small animal care, husbandry, all those things. We had a whole little pet shop. And then we also had a horse barn there. So learning how to take care of the horses and ride. And we had mini donkeys and rabbits out there. And then the grooming rotation. And I couldn't stand it. I, by the way, they still use me. I still actually work with them a lot, and they use me as an example. I couldn't stand it. I got talks too much, needs to stay where they're supposed to. Like, I just, but I would also like to state they weren't allowed to make money. So we were getting Cocker Spaniels that were bitey. Back then, Cocker Spaniels were the rage. Everyone had them. Or we were getting Old English farm dogs that got groomed once a year and they were charging $15 because they only could make enough to cover costs.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't get a lot of nice dogs, honestly. So I actually couldn't stand that rotation. But at that point, I started working at a vet clinic in the area, and I realized that wasn't going to be for me either for a few different reasons. But one of them was the main one is it's not a great environment to work in. Doctors don't know how to work with humans, which is fine. Is the most polite way. Like they know their craft. I don't knock them. They went to school, they have all this knowledge, and that's what their strengths are, is working with the dogs, not necessarily managing.
Mm-hmm. I get that.
Yeah. So actually, and it happened to be outside right after school. I graduated and I needed a job like any, 17, 18-year-old person. And back in the day, we didn't have the internet or smartphones. So I was thumbing through the newspaper and I happened to see a grooming facility hiring. And I'm like, well, I did the skills. Like, I don't, I'm like, why not? And I was very lucky. For me, it was a farther distance. It was like 45 minutes away. But I got really lucky and they hired me and trained me on finishing because obviously 2 years at a high school career center you didn't learn all the stuff, and that's where it began. Was I started working there full time and I was there for 2.5 years. So
Nice.
yeah, and then I ended up having a part-time job at the same time in where I lived in the same city, and I was there on Mondays grooming, and their full-time groomer quit and I was there for 13 years before I opened up my own
Wow.
facility. So this is all I've known. Like, really, I've had little odds and ends, retail jobs to make ends meet or, make a little extra money, but other than that, this has been my thing.
Yeah. Speaking of knowing it was your thing or even not liking it at first, at what can you pinpoint the moment, or was there a light bulb moment where you were like, know what, this actually is my career, like I actually do like this? Was there an exact moment where you remember that happening?
I would say when I got really comfortable. So I worked in a very affluent area is where I learned my finishing work. So we had really cool breeds that we worked on, like Briards and I mean bearded collies, and like and of course the doodle thing wasn't a thing back then. So it was really neat. I want to say when it clicked, right? We all know as groomers it clicks. And I train a lot of groomers up. And I'm like, one day it just clicks. And I think it was that clicking moment. I could see it worked with my brain and it was something that I enjoyed and I still got to work with dogs. So, yeah, I think it was just that day when it clicked that I could do it on my own and I was getting the hang of it and I just didn't look back. It was just always been a thing.
And then you said you own your own salon now. What is the name of it?
So I own 3 locations. Awesome Paws Pet Salon, and we started with my first location. I'm going on 12 years. So
Okay.
12 years with my first location, purchased my second location 2 years into owning, and then we built a cat only facility 3 years ago. So the third location is a cat only location, no dogs allowed.
Oh, wow. Okay. So yeah, you're building a little empire there.
Yes, yes. And we're looking to hone in. And so currently I have over 22 employees. I don't know, it fluctuates a little bit. And I wouldn't trade it for anything. But I went
Yeah.
directly from the vet clinic into owning.
What made you decide to open the cat only? Do you groom cats as well, or did you just hire people that deal with cats?
So working at the vet clinic, so I actually learned cats at my first job. Not everyone did them. And the one manager, I guess I will say she manager, the one person in charge, she ended up saying, here, learn how to do these. I think you'd be great. And I'm like, okay. I'm always game to learn things. I say yes and then figure it out later. That's how I get myself into a lot of the things that I do. So I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? And I enjoyed it. And then obviously vet clinic, we get all the animals that get kicked out of facilities because they need sedated. I will say most of the cats, a lot of the cats, I never sedated without trying first, and a lot of the cats did. Dogs, not so much. I rehabilitated them. But that's where I got really comfortable with doing cats, especially sedated cats. You had a time limit, and I learned efficiency on them. So I learned how to get a nice smooth finish before the bath if they were being shaved down. And I really learned how like their bodies mechanics moved with them being sedated. And then that just went spilled over into cats that were obviously awake. Yeah, no, I would rather be groom cats than dogs, to be perfectly honest.
Oh, really? Wow. Okay.
I'm
I mean,
that person.
yeah, and it's one of those things where now that we're on the topic of cats, what
Mhm.
because I feel like the old adage is cats don't need grooming because they groom themselves, and a lot of people that own cats are like, why would I do that? So what do you say to people that don't think their cat needs grooming?
We like to educate, so I most certainly say, well, it's licking. It only does so much. We do get a lot of cats, obviously, that are seniors that now all of a sudden have issues because they didn't clean themselves well. So we like to educate on that aspect. And what we've really done on our social media side is just started really amping up the whole process for the cats and how cats can enjoy it. Not obviously not all cats enjoy it, but that we're showing that it's not taboo is my whole thing there. And I love the cat salon. If you like, even on a business side, it is so different in marketing and strategy and clientele. Oh, I mean, just cat people alone. Oh, it takes 20 minutes to set up a nail trim appointment because they want to tell you the whole life story. And I'm like, okay. And I love it. I really do. But just the whole difference between the two. But
Yeah,
yeah, we
yeah.
just we like to show why we do before and afters. We like to do, even when people call up and we talk about getting them on a consistent basis. And as much as we would love to see them about every 6 to 8 weeks, even if we're telling them as the seasons change, to get them on a routine.
I found you through the Pet Stylist Relief Fund. I went to Hershey this year with Groomer's Choice, and we saw your signs and stuff. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh, what exactly do they do? Or, just I had heard kind of about what you do. So,
Mhm.
what inspired you guys to start the Pet Stylist Relief Fund? Was there like a specific story, or
Mhm.
just how did it come about? Yeah.
So I actually was co-founder in 2020. I was one of the co-founders of Ohio Professional Pet Groomers Association. So we had started that. So I wasn't new to the nonprofit side of things. Every time we would have some sort of fundraising event, I always remembered, I don't know, you said you've been in around 2 years. So about 8 years ago, there was Groomers Emergency Assistance Fund, GEAF is what they went by. And they had it, I don't know how many years they had it, but they disbanded 8 years ago. And I remember that they had existed, wanted to do fundraisers, but didn't know if they still did. And I found out they didn't. And that was probably about 2 years ago. And I had to take a step back from the Ohio organization. It just got to be too much. Life was getting a little crazy. And I just always had this nagging, like, this needs to come back. I have been very fortunate in my journey. So I started speaking in the industry in 2021, and I had hired Mary Aquendo to be pretty much my coach, and she helped me create a program and got me into the speaking world. And I loved every minute of it. And she has helped me out through so much. Well, here to find out, I ended up after I had resigned from Ohio, I messaged her and I said, hey, I think I really want to do this. And she was actually on the board from the original one. And she
Okay.
said, okay, so, and her and I have this habit of pulling each other into projects. She's like, I don't have a lot of time, but I'll do it for you. And I had all of the knowledge. And I wasn't even, I had reached out to her as a future thing. It wasn't even something that was right then and there. I also am very smart and know that I am not giving up the opportunity to have someone who was in the trenches before offer up all of their knowledge.
Right. Right.
I'm like,
That is
no, no.
smart.
Yeah, I'm like, no, we'll fast forward this project. And we ended up, she helped me get it all set up, what to go ahead and do. And she also ran a lot of the vetting, which was my concern, was how do we vet? How do you, how does all this process work? So she offered it up, and I started handpicking my board members. And some of the original people, it got to be too much. It was a lot to take on because this is all volunteer, obviously. And my board members are amazing and they put in the time, and I couldn't do it without them. But that's really how it started. I knew the original one existed. I wanted to donate and fundraise for it, and it just wasn't there anymore. And just nagging, just kept saying, this needs to exist again.
What kinds of situations qualify groomers for assistance then? Like, how do they, if let's say they're having a hard time, what do they do? Or how hard does that time have to be to qualify again?
So the easiest way, and how we started and where Geep had left off, was FEMA definition. So any situation where it's not expected, so typically natural disasters. That's the easiest way to think of it in that aspect. And then things beyond groomers control. So maybe we've helped people who have had a car go through their salon and the insurance was taking too long, stuff like that. We're not here for preventative. We're not, if you're a mobile and you had a tire, a flat tire, and you don't have funds to go ahead and fix it, we're not here for that. So we're here for the people who are insured, and we're all about educating that too, insured and good business practices and stuff like that. Easiest definition is natural disasters, but we're looking to expand. So we have some resources to help with medical that we can go ahead and outreach to. And I know you saw us in Hershey and learned about us. And I don't know if you know much about it. We hadn't even been together for a year before we got, so we got our 501c3 status in October of 2024. So we weren't even a year in, and we got it right before Hurricane Helene hit.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we went into straight fundraising mode where people didn't even really know that we existed. And we helped a lot of people in North Carolina and then some people in Florida because Milton hit right after that. And then from that point on, it was straight fundraising. So we had some really, really, really amazing sponsors that have helped out. So we're really new. I have really big goals, and we have a board meeting coming up. I know, shocking. I go by the ambitious groomer for a reason. So I was telling some of my board members what my goals are, and they're like, Denise. And I'm like, no, we're going to get there. Don't worry. So really, we had to conserve funds, not really knowing what was coming up. We've had a lot of people. So like Barkley really helped out, Hanvey, California. There's so many, I don't want to miss them, but like really people who stepped up and donated a lot of money to get us off the ground. But yeah, that's why a lot of people, we've been pounding the pavement. Barkley donates booths to any of the shows that are not sold out. So that would be how all of that worked, which is why we didn't have a booth. But obviously Groomer's Choice was amazing and had their room and took our banner, and we so appreciate. Yeah, I loved it. And we so appreciated that. But yeah, we really one contribution to the industry less than a year in. So lots of things. Lots of things going on.
I guess you said mostly natural disaster, but what about like a fire or something? Like,
yeah.
And like you said, if insurance is taking too long, that would qualify.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So we've had I tell everyone apply. No matter what, go to our website and apply. Because the worst that we try to help out as many people as we can by all means. So if it falls in, something that's beyond your control, by all means, fill it out. And we have a lot of resources. So a lot of Groomer Supply House, they have full toolkits that are refurbished that almost all of their sharpeners have, that we call on them and they'll go ahead and fill, send those out. We are working with other vendors that are offering for people who are approved. So it never hurts to try. I would rather somebody try. And now that we have the resource for someone who can look into medical, we can pass those applications down to see if they're able to assist as we still start to build and grow everything.
Yeah, because I'm sure a lot of groomers, let's say, I don't know, they break their arm or something. That means they can't work. And so they're not making money. It's not.
Correct.
Yeah, that sort of thing. Or even, I don't know. I mean, I'd hate to say like cancer or something, but those things hit families all the time and it's tough.
Yeah.
I know you said this type of organization in this iteration is only a year and a half or so. It's relatively new, but and I mean, you can name names if you want, but you don't have to. Is there a success story? Is there like a success story that kind of captures the heart of what you do, or one that sticks in your brain that you really helped somebody out?
So actually we were able to help her out, but one of my board members, Rachel, when she found out we were going to exist, she had heard about it, I think at New England show. Yeah, I think it was at the New England show. And she had come up to me and we just had a really good conversation. And she was so excited. She had been hit by a flood before. And there wasn't anything to help me. I wish this would have existed. And it didn't. And her whole heart and passion, she actually was on the New England organization's board at one point, and she had offered, and her story I do believe is on our website, but she will like tenfold all over that she just wished it existed. And then she went through another flood.
Oh no.
And yeah, so, and of course in an area that wasn't supposed to be flooded. And all of a sudden it was like a fluke flood the first year, and then the second year it flooded again. So she's had hardships a lot. And it's people like that, right? That just fall on hard times. It's really gratifying by all means to have people who you help and they're like, I will support you guys when I get back on my feet. North Carolina, there was a whole group because with Helene, that whole area, insurance didn't help because they didn't have flood insurance because they were in the mountains and they're not supposed to have floods. So yeah, one really cool story that I love from that is there was a person who was getting back on their feet and they groomed out of a shed. And this is what's really cool. We have a lot of leadway. So we don't always have to do products. We don't always have to do just money. There's really cool. So there's a person who it was about to become winter and they needed insulation. And we were able to donate, I think it was $500 in a gift card to Home Depot so that they could go and do this, or cash. I can't remember exactly which it was, but we were able to help in that aspect too, because that's really what they needed.
Yeah. It can be little, big, like it's all makes a difference in the end. Ooh, this is a good one. If you could give one piece of advice to groomers struggling to stay afloat financially or even emotionally, we hear a lot about burnout and stuff. What would it be? And you say you try to educate too on just good practices. So what's one good piece of advice?
Well, and I speak on the business side, so that helps too. As far as good advice, I'm going to say budget and finances is really getting a strong, solid foundation if it's a monetary thing. On a burnout level, because we all go through it, it is finding the tools. For me, what it was reading. I'm a reader. And when I went through a really big depression type era about 3 or 4 years ago, and it was pretty deep. And I crawled myself out of that by reading and really focusing on the things that I was struggling with internally. I guess my big advice is you have more control than what you think you do.
I do like that.
I think that's going to be my generalized. You have, when you feel like you're not in control or the world is eating you, you have way more control than what you think you
That's good. Put it on a shirt. Put it on a shirt.
I think that's why I think and that's what made me, that like really helped me. I learned how much control I had. I had a lot more control over my finances than what I felt. I had a lot more control over my business than what I felt. And I had a lot more control over my life work balance than what I thought. And when you start working on yourself and you figure out how much control you actually have, it's a really cool feeling, and it gets you through a lot more things than always trying to find that next step of that next little temporary step out when you can do the work on yourself. So I'm going to say yes, you have way more control than what you think you do.
You're a business owner, you have 3 locations. Maybe you have some insight on this. How can grooming businesses better support their teams to prevent burnout or injury, or, just keep good vibes?
That's employee management's my jam too. I love it.
Yeah,
I love leadership. Yeah, no, that's one of my favorite things. Oh goodness, there's so many different things. So I originally set it up to how I would want it. So I can still groom 28 years in. And yes, I've had back issues. Yes, I have all these, I've had all these setbacks, but I'm able to keep the longevity of my career because I always had support staff. So I built my business with support staff. Not everyone fits into that business model. Some people just want to belt out dogs, do it on their own, and not be a team. So I built things around the way that I wanted and then found people to fit into that. And then I got really creative with what we could offer. So we're able to offer paid continuing education. I've done yoga classes for them before. We've done even just little parties like a pumpkin carving party to keep morale up. My full-time job is keeping the morale up. It is really what all that is. So I love finding different avenues and listening to what they want, learning how they process and learning how they take things in and the things that really matter to them. I'm a book person. So you've heard of the 5 love languages. They have one for work. And when you realize that not everyone thinks the same way as you can actually tailor it to get that longevity out of there. So my full-time job is to make sure they don't want to leave.
Right, exactly.
Like I want to give them everything that they didn't have at corporate, or within my limits. I don't change things. I keep my boundaries. I don't, like, if someone comes in and they say, and I pay hourly plus production bonus, and if they were to come in and say I'll only take commission, then nope. There's still boundaries within my business, but learning different leadership skills. Yeah. And I love it.
Yeah, that makes sense, because and in turn, if people want to stay there working for you, that makes your life easier, because then you have, you're not running around without staff and stuff.
Correct.
You brought up how you pay hourly plus production bonus versus commission, because I see that I'm in Pro Groomer Network. I'm stalking all you guys, but that is a thing that gets brought up all the time. Am I getting paid too little, too much? How should I do this? So how did you decide on this? Like, why is it best for you?
So I worked as straight commission when I worked at the vet clinic, and I hated having the ups and downs. And that was my biggest thing. So I always knew I didn't want straight commission. I didn't know how that was going to look. So when I had my first employee, I happened to have somebody who was, and listen, I don't have a business background. I did all the bad things, all the wrong things. I hired in too much. I didn't have a handbook the first 2 years, and I had employees. Like, if everyone thinks I have my stuff together, I'm telling you, I did not. Learn from my mistakes, go make your own. And so my first employee happened to be someone who needed work. They couldn't do a lot of volume. and I started playing around with numbers, and I figured out what could work as an hourly basis. And that tended to be who I attracted in employees were people who needed to go ahead and they needed tweaked. They had the bare basics, but they needed tweaked into the rest of their career. And the nice part about that was they went slower, so I could get away with straight hourly that made numbers work. But then all of a sudden I trained them up and they were starting to get faster and faster. And I'm like, okay, well, on a business side, I didn't want to put more into the hourly because I was still growing. So what if they had a day full of no-shows in January and I have to now offset and pay for this higher hourly?
Mhm.
So for the business, it made sense to then figure out how to do a commission structure. So the hourly may be lower, at the time, it may have been lower, but they were able to sort of have control over their paychecks because now they could go ahead and hit a production bonus. So that's actually how I love the teamwork. I know that I can keep my payroll in check. I know that even if they're doing bare minimums, I am still able to, the business is still able to turn what it needs to in order to sustain itself and sustain me. So it's really nice, and they have control over that. So this model then went into bathers. I train a lot of groomers, or I train a lot of bathers into groomers. And that's how this started. So then they have their hourly rate. As I'm training them, they stay at their hourly rate until they hit a certain point, and we call them level 2 groomers. Once they hit level 2, then they are eligible for a production bonus. So it works out really nice. But yeah, I just always knew I didn't want to do straight commission. It sucked having really good paychecks and then having nothing. And I wanted to give, and I knew a lot of like corporate over the years were hourly or commission. And I liked the model of having a groomer know that they're making at least a certain amount.
Yeah. That's one reason I've never really had a fully commission-based job, because I'm like, I don't like that uncertainty. I need so much money all the time.
Yeah,
So
no. And I mean, let's face it, we're not taught. One of the things that we do for our employees as well is we'll do financial advising. Like
Oh,
we'll give
that's
them,
wow,
yeah,
yeah.
we love to try, we want to set them up for budgeting if they want, or we do offer 401k with a 4% match. So we talk to especially my young ones about doing it now and what that benefits them later. So we really like to educate on that aspect. So it's not just that, but we're not taught how to budget. We're not taught in school how to do these things and how to
Like
function
maybe
as
a
an
little
adult.
bit, but
Like
it's in
tiny.
between like the square dancing and the
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, it
because of
was all
course you need
trial
to
and
know how
error.
to square dance in life, but
Right. I always remember that class too. That
it
was
was
not a fun
fun,
time.
but
It
yeah.
was. So yeah, it's really important. I mean, I got really good at budgeting, but I also know that there wasn't a lot of people who were. So, and I know that it's not a normal thing currently. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's why I
I think
wanted that whole model.
Groomer Tales is brought to you by Bark to Basics, one of Groomer's Choice's trusted house brands. From skunk solution to oatmeal, Greek yogurt, and Scentsy Skin, ear cleaner, and salon scents, Bark to Basics has it all. And here's the best part. As a Groomer's Choice house brand, you can mix and match any 4 gallons and get one free. Always, every day. Check out Bark to Basics at groomerschoice.com, proudly made in the USA and made for groomers like you. Now, back to Groomer Tales. It sounds like you're a pretty busy gal. So how do you balance running a grooming business, operating a nonprofit, your social media? Like, how do you tell us your secret? How are you doing it all?
I don't do it by myself. So I think that's what you see a lot of. You see a lot of people just, we also, and I mean, you don't even probably know this. I just launched a product in October, a
Oh,
grooming loop. Yeah. So now I'm getting into the realm of vendor and into product development. I don't do it on my own. I think you see a lot of the things on social media that it looks like. I have a virtual assistant who helps me. I have a manager who helps me. I have my husband who helps me. He works within the business. So this fully sustains our whole household. And as much as I can do numbers, I don't like numbers. I like dogs. So I like dogs and people more. So like he helps on that end. I just align myself where my weaknesses are.
That's smart. I mean, because yeah, why do something you don't want to do or are not good
Yeah.
at, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I'm just gonna mess it up anyways. I'm like, I might as well, like, I'm like, so one of the first things, was when I started doing payroll was I'm doing an accountant. I don't want to mess anything up. Taxes scare me. The government scares me. I want nothing to do
Same,
with that.
same.
Right? I'm like, because I've heard too many horror stories that I made sure that I was able to budget for at least an accountant to help with payroll and taxes at the very minimum. And, you know, whatever I could work with within my budget at the time. So,
That makes
mm,
sense. Even last year, I started doing my own like tax return and stuff because it's just me and should be pretty simple. But last year,
yes,
my refund was the biggest it's ever been, and I was like, I did something wrong. I'm gonna be in
right.
trouble. Like,
Yep, yep. I'm like,
I was like, oh no. But yeah, I'm not running 3 places in a nonprofit and I don't
no,
have
I
quite
wish it
as
was
many
that
to think.
simple. Yeah, no, no. I wish it was that simple.
Where do you want to take Pet Stylist Relief Fund in the future? Are you planning on opening more salons? What's on the horizon?
Oh, well, so let's start salons real quick. If you're an entrepreneur and you're listening and you're like, oh, every day I go from, I want to give this all up because it's hard. I'm sorry, it's hard. You can sit there and watch all the things on social media. Owning a business is hard, and it's so filled with ups and downs. And one day I go from, oh, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna figure out my exit strategy. I don't want to do this. Service industry has a lot to do with that. Relying on other people's spending habits in a
Mm-hmm.
wonky economic time
Yep.
stresses me out. So that's actually why I do a lot of the other things that I do is diversification for income. But but then, my husband messaged me and he's like, "Hey, remember this location that was, talked about selling like 3 years ago?" I'm like, "Okay, let's just buy another one." So so expansion is never off the table. I say it all the time. I'm like, I'm giving this up, and then if there's a good opportunity, I'm very opportunistic. So expanding is always in the future for the salons, but I'm really happy and content with what we have and honing in on that. So either or. Oh, Pet Stylist is really fun. I have a lot of huge things for that. I want to build because we have a really good reserve because of a lot of our people who sponsored and who have supported us. But one big natural disaster, and that can go away really fast because it just takes, however many groomers. So my goal is to get that whole my my happy place would be getting that up to like 100,000 reserved. So then that way, if something big happens, we don't have to worry about that, and that we would have those funds and not just constantly be in fundraising. And my goal is to get that to the point where we could even have people on the ground to go into facilities and areas that were hit and have, to be able to help in that aspect as well. So I have really big plans and I really want to get into like medical and really start honing in on what Geef started because it was such a great foundation, but I know that we can elevate it and make it bigger and more beneficial. So, and it's already beneficial. So that's really cool. So there's that. And then, so the ambitious groomer, I do business coaching, but my goal, what I'm learning after speaking at a lot of the trade shows for the last 4 years, business owners just want a community to where they can just talk. So I started in October, but I'm working on next year pulling it into a full-fledged membership of an ambitious groomer hive mind. And it's a whole bunch, it's just a collective group of business owners that will have a topic each month. I'll have a guest trainer. I also do like a podcast that will help with the topic. I have this all in my head. It's not out yet, but the goal is to give business owners, it's lonely. Being a business owner is lonely.
Yeah.
And I want owners to know that they're not alone. And that's really like a lot of my speaking. That's my biggest drive is most of my seminars. Like I just want people to know they're not alone because I felt so alone.
Yeah. That's
So
cool.
building
Yeah.
building a business owner community for that. And then obviously our product, it's a new grooming loop that has a whole bunch of cool safety features. It actually has a quick release attached to it. So if anything were to happen, you can just
Nice.
unsnap and still have control over the dog. But we also have a lot of other key features on that. And really just getting the word out on that and, revolutionizing the grooming loop side that hasn't been touched in years or ever. I mean, I went into biothane, but it hasn't done much since then.
So what's the name of your loop?
Snapped.
Oh,
Snapped pet gear.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
snapped pet
Okay.
gear. I don't have one here. But yeah, so we have a whole product line. We have 4 different products and they all work on the overhead. Some of the key features, they work on the overhead bars that are really hard with the dog clips. So we have like a scissor type style that goes in there and can fit on all those. And the slide part that goes around the dog's neck to go ahead and tighten so that the dog doesn't back out. You know how they start to back out because So it actually has a screw. So as it loosens, you can go ahead and tighten it back up. So you're not going to have that aspect. And then it is also adjustable length in a biothane. So so you don't have to keep raising and lowering your arms and you don't have to have all the extender loops that drive me crazy because you can't get a good fit. A lot of times you can't get a good safe fit because even just that little half-inch or inch difference is huge on some of those dogs. So it's actually designed to get the proper fit without having to use all those extenders.
Cool. We'll have to keep
Yeah.
our eyes out for that.
Yes.
Hearing some of your plans, maybe you already answered this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. If resources were unlimited, what dream programs or support services would you want to launch for groomers? Which I think you already kind of have a plan, but like,
I do.
if resources, if you could do it all right now, what would be the main?
I would love to. Oh gosh, that's a big one. It's only big when you're a big thinker. Pretty much the ambitious groomer, giving a community. And if I had unlimited resources, it would be building exactly where I would want Pet Stylist Relief Fund to be. It has nothing to do. I'm comfortable. I'm fine. All the other things are for diversification. I would, in a heartbeat, get my goals up and running for Pet Stylist Relief Fund. And that would be like that huge, that nice little, cushion and really developing all of that and get the word out there because a lot of groomers, it was this past year going to the shows, it was really funny to really watch who knew. People who lived in areas of natural disasters knew who we were. People who lived in safer areas didn't even know who we were. They had never even heard of us. So that's, just bridging that gap of who's heard of us and just getting it out there because you never know. It's not just natural disasters.
Right.
So, nope. I think if all funds were unlimited, I would, out of all my projects, go for Pet Stylist Relief Fund.
Because you're just a giver. That's why.
I am. I am. Well, and I don't know, unlimited resources. That's the biggest one. And like I said, everything else is cool. Like it can grow organically. But if I had unlimited resources, it would be everything to set it up for that.
So of all the things you do, what is the most rewarding part?
So I think each one is a little different. Obviously, Pet Stylist Relief Fund, helping people. Our snapped product launch, that is really cool in the way of designing something that people don't even know that they really need or that they were missing. I watched Shark Tank a lot. I love Shark Tank. And so just watching people's minds, and I do have partners on that. My trainer friend is the one who designed the quick release because she would get dogs that were unruly or got kicked out of grooming salons, and she would be working with them, but there was nothing safe in a bathtub. That's actually
Mm.
where it came from. So she designed that. I designed all of the elements, the grooming elements to it. My salons, I just love watching my staff grow. Like it's giving everything to my staff to watch them achieve. Like I've done my time. My businesses are like my new project, and I love watching them grow into their careers. So that's that one. And then probably the most gratifying of the ambitious groomer side of things is education. I love speaking. Like my goal is to make someone cry in my class at least once. So
But in a good
I
way, in a good
in a
way.
good way. Yes, in a good way. I want to inspire business owners. I think we feel so lost. So in Rocky Mountain, Arizona, I had two people cry in my class, and it was wonderful. And it was about leadership and boundaries and just empowering. I love inspiring and empowering and I love touching people to know that they're not alone in their journey and that they do possess the skills to be able to do
Gotcha. I love that you're talking about crying in like a good way, because a lot of
it.
times on this podcast, it's like when I first started, I'd just go home and cry because I wasn't getting it. That's usually the crying I hear about. So like,
No, I still do that. I cry. Listen, I cry in my own business. Like I cry. Like I do that. But I want to make other people cry. I mean, I do it to my employees all the time too. And I love it. That's the whole running thing. One of my receptionists, she's like, I never cry. And she's like, you just made me cry. I'm like, that's what I do. Like, I know how to dig in right at your soul. And it was all uplifting. It was, I know you can do this. I know you possess this. I would never give you more than what you can handle. And I see this in you. And that's when so
Mhm.
yeah. hmm
Yeah,
Good
nice.
tears. Good tears.
You've been grooming a while. What do you think has been the biggest change in the pet grooming space in your time working in the industry?
Oh, the biggest change is the education side of of what people learn. And I know like when I started, everything is always because this is how I was taught. But what I see the biggest, and I think and it's not even it's not a good change. There's so much information, and I'm very big on an advocate that we should have some sort of standardization. I'm not saying that we should be licensed like hairstylists, but we most certainly on a professional level should have some sort of standards in place to help us on a whole, legal side of everything as well. But I think that the lack of that structured education, so we're not getting into how to handle dogs as well. We're not being taught the back end. And I think a lot of that changed when corporate started, and it was really quick. Here's 4 weeks of some training, and they're taught the skills, but not what goes behind it.
Mhm.
Not the empathetic side, not the how to work with the dogs, not how to, manage our own emotions to be able to be at the table and deal with these dogs. And I think that that's the biggest thing, was that was always a huge part of my training, at least, was the dog was still a being.
Mhm.
Was it Where I think we lose that in the way that the industry has grown and trained, that now it's just this product sometimes that's on your table. We're here to give it a haircut. Here you go. And not that it's its own little entity.
Mhm.
Um, so it's not really a good progress. But I have to say, on the other side to that, we have so many different avenues to learn, whether it's through podcasts like this, or it is through going to shows or online webinars, or even, influencers have some really good, tips and tricks
Yeah.
and stuff. So a little twofold. We have a lot more education, but we're not educating the foundation that we should be. And
Mhm.
that's been a different.
And that leads perfectly into my next question, the importance of continued education.
I love it. It
So
is.
obviously it's important, but so like, how do you keep up with all of it? And like you said, there is a lot more information out there, but sometimes it's not always good. So like, how do you piece through it to find the good? And yeah, it's important for sure.
It is. So on the grooming side, when I'm looking at videos, and I don't do a lot, I'll do research on grooming for my groomers, but so I still groom, but I've been grooming my dogs for 25 years and I'm weeding out. I don't have to groom in my business. I don't take new clients as they pass. I don't, and the owners aren't getting new dogs. So I'm weeding out, but I do still keep up on trends. So I typically look for content that speaks to me and how people are handling the dogs, right? I think that's the most important. So I can learn the best Bashan. There's no Bashans that come to me. I can learn all those skills, but I will watch educators who align with how I value grooming. So that's that side of everything. And then when it comes to, I go outside of the industry sometimes when it comes to training or learning behavior. And I actually take it on myself to learn and then pass it down to my employees somehow. But I look for any Chrissy Newmeyer Smith. She's wonderful. She talks about behavior and how to work with the dogs on your table. Ashley Hanvey is coming out with the whole don't grab the beard type, training and giving alternatives. So I just love learning everything and find what works for me.
Perfect. Another big thing in this industry is collaboration. Can you speak to the importance of collaboration? I mean, obviously you've partnered with people to do the relief fund and you've partnered for the product. So how did these partnerships come about and why are they so important in this industry?
Okay, so we get to work with dogs because we don't want to work with people, right? And that's the hardest part. So we want to be introverts. Most of us are introverts. It's very neurodivergent industry. There's a lot of different learning. So, anyways, with that said, for me, it was really hard to reach out to anybody. And honestly, Mary, I think, was probably my first person I really said I didn't have mentors or anything. Like I looked up to people, but I didn't have mentors. And Mary was probably my first person I reached out to. And that was to hire her as a coach. After that, I got out of my comfort zone and I'm really good with people. It is a strong suit for me and I like to deny it and fight it. And I leaned into it. And I'm like, no, we're going to start doing this. And I started, I say this to everyone and even my employees. I'm like, I'm no better than anybody else, like walking into my facility. I just do different things. So I started doing the scary that I do a lot of mantras and mottos. Like I'm very much that and affirmations to keep me going. One of them was do the scary. And I just put myself out there. And the more I put myself out there, I started seeing how beneficial it was to be able to work with people and not do it all on your own, how much farther it spreads when you do it that way. But most importantly, it taught me how to find the right people to align with. And you don't align with everybody, which was a huge mistake I did in the very beginning. I'm like, oh, friend, oh, we could do this together. And I'm very much like I said, opportunistic person. I can see the good in everyone. I can see how we could benefit each other in the perfect world. And I aligned myself with people who wouldn't have shared the same personal values I do. There's nothing wrong. It's just, is this someone I would hang out with or not? And those didn't get me far. And if anything, they got me headaches. So this past year has been about listening to myself, knowing I can't do it on my own, and really watching who I align with and how much flourishes from that. Because I'm in a really cool spot. I mean, the other part that I don't know if you know this or not. The other cool spot about this is not only have I educator and all those other things, but I also help run the Barkley Pet Pro Cruise, and I take care of So I take care
Why
of the
not add one
speakers.
more thing? Let's
One
just
more
do
thing
it.
to there. Yeah, yeah. I'm like, here's one more. So I help run that. And it happened to be I was in right place, right time, and all those things, but I put myself out there. And that's how that got to be. So I get to collaborate with a lot of people and I get to meet a lot of people. And when I started to see who aligned, oh my gosh, the I don't know if you saw for Pet Stylist Relief Fund, Blake Hernandez ended up doing that calendar. Have you seen the
Oh,
calendar?
yep, yep. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Okay, so he reached out to me. I am friends with him, but he reached out to me that he wanted to do this. I'm like, oh my God, I love it. Let me help you, in any way. If I stayed introverted and I didn't go out of my comfort zone, I wouldn't have really amazing relationships with these people. And I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't have had Blake Hernandez getting all of the cool influencers together to come together for Pet Stylist Relief Fund.
I think the
So,
favorite little video I've seen from behind the scenes of that shoot is the
yes,
like story time with Jay Scruggs where they're all
I
they're
was
all just
there.
around Jay. Yeah.
I was dying. You should have seen in that room. We were laughing like we were crying, laughing so hard. And he was actually supposed to have a Santa suit. It was supposed to be for December and he was supposed to have a Santa suit, but it didn't come in time. But we're like, oh, whatever. And I don't know if there was sound to the video that you saw or if you just happened to see it. I have ones with sound. He's reading the AKC Breed Standard book and
Uh-huh.
he is, oh yeah, and just talking to them like they're children. It was the funniest thing. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So yeah, but it's really cool. I've learned I can't do it all. So those stick yourself in. I don't do anything. I'm no better than anyone else. And I tell my girls that all the time. They're like, oh my God, but you know these people and you do this. And I'm like, I just put myself in situations that were uncomfortable. That's
Right.
it. That's it.
You can be there too someday. Just
Yeah.
yeah, I get it. And speaking
Yep.
of Blake Hernandez, he's fingers crossed, supposed to be the next guest. He had some scheduling stuff. I had it obviously he's hard to like nail down, but
Oh, he's a lot. Yes. Yes. Very much so.
so I finally got him rescheduled, I think. Hopefully,
Nice.
cross your fingers, send good vibes that all the technology works.
Yes.
We talked about so many things there. I don't even know where to. Oh, speaking of that calendar, I suppose we should. I guess I've seen posts about it, but do we just get it at Pet Stylist Relief Fund, or where do you order it?
Oh, so there was some. It happened so fast with it being at Hershey, and then there were editing issues, and we got it up really fast. And now that you said that, I have got to get my virtual assistant on updating the Pet Stylist Relief Fund to actually have that on there. I will get it up and running on there that you can purchase it through there.
Okay, okay.
And honestly, it's hilarious. Don't even use it as calendar. Just use it to watch the whole thing was hilarious. So and it was really cool to watch them all come together. But yes, I will
Yeah.
make sure that gets on the Pet Stylist Relief Fund.
Okay, let's see. Like I said, I just got all of we were so where am I in my notes? I don't even know.
You're fine. No worries. No, listen. I spew a lot out. Like I know that there's a lot of avenues. I have a lot of little projects. So yes, I get it.
Yes. And but that's what I think is so interesting, especially being someone that's relatively new to the grooming world. I had no idea. There are all these places you can go and take it. And even like you saying there's a cruise, I was like, first time I heard about this cruise being a thing, I was like, how does Groomer's Choice get on the cruise? Like, how do we go you know what I mean?
Message me.
Like,
I can help you. Yeah, no. Right. Right.
and how do I
Yeah.
get Groomer's Choice to send me instead of
We're working on that. So Barkley has actually been doing the cruises for 30 years.
Oh,
A lot
really?
of people, yeah. So a lot of people didn't realize that they've been doing it for so long. I actually learned about them right around the time I opened my business, and we needed a write-off. I wanted to go travel, and we needed to get away, and I didn't want to take the kids. So we actually that's what we did was we tried a cruise, and we did that one. We did one, they went to Hawaii. And then the third one was when they went to Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao, which is where I got the gig. Karina was the speaker or whatever. And the travel agent was retiring. And Karina's, do you want to do this? I'm like, sure, why not? Let's do this. And we really wanted to elevate it because it sort of existed. It was fine. A lot of people, 2020 ruined it, right? Because,
Right.
the traction of everything and stuff. So yeah, we're trying to make it bigger and better. just by nature, because that's what we do as entrepreneurs, and we can't just be okay with being okay. And yeah, no, they've actually had it for 30 years. And
Wow.
they've been doing it for a long time.
We'll get back into some more just kind of general grooming questions. What is your favorite animal or breed to groom and your least favorite?
I'm a terrier person. I'm actually not picky on my terriers. I love patterns. And listen, I'm by far a pet groomer. I'm not a competitor. I don't get into show grooming. I don't do any of that, but I love terriers and their attitudes, and I love the patterns, and I love straight lines, unlike the foofy things. So I'm a
Mm-hmm.
terrier person. What was the other part of that question?
Your least favorite.
Spaniels. Well, and the reason why I try and tell my employees this all the time, I'm like, you have to remember when I learned how to groom, cockers were huge. I was doing 7 or 8 cockers in a day. It was bam, bam, bam. So I'm gonna say cocker spaniels.
Okay.
Those are my least favorite.
I always think that question is interesting because it gets sort of like controversial, you know?
Yes, it does. No, I get it. And for me, it was because I got it. You don't see nice bred cocker spaniels where I'm at. They all have skin. Like I said, it's more of a PTSD thing from back in the day.
Right. Did you ever get into creative grooming? Did you ever do much of that?
I have played around with it. I love it. I try to help my girls out on it. I used to think that I could do. Oh, I always wanted to do abstract, like abstract runway. I do not possess the artistic creativity to look at a dog and say, "Oh, you could be a buffalo,"
Right.
or I can't do it. So I have dabbled in pet grooming, like pet type salon creative. I had a standard poodle. I don't know who told me I could have a dog to groom. It was my only dog I've ever owned that had to be groomed. And I got him specifically for the salon. He was a backyard bred 5-year-old rehome, but he was white and I could tie dye him, and we used him for the facilities. But yeah, I dabbled in it. I think it's fun. I like that the girls can be creative. So we're trying to build that clientele back up, which is sometimes a hard sell. But yeah, no, I played around with it.
Okay.
I like
Cool.
it.
In pet grooming, weird is kind of a relative term, but do you remember a time when a pet owner had kind of a weird request or just wanted you to do something to their dog where you were like, but why? But again, I know in pet grooming, well, we do a lot of weird things. So.
We do. Back in the day, obviously the whole trend of shaving down golden retrievers, right? Like when it became a thing, we would get people with Great Pyrenees or golden retrievers wanting them in like lion cuts. So that was always a weird thing for me. Or the people who I also had to say the people who don't keep up with their dogs and would rather them look like Swiss cheese than, getting one even look. Those always baffled me as well.
Yeah, that's funny. I remember we had Vanessa, girl with the dogs from YouTube on the podcast, and when I asked her that, she had a good one that I never really thought about. She goes, I just think it's weird when I have pet owners say that they don't want to see the butt.
Oh
They
yeah.
don't really want like a good sanitary trim because they're like, I don't want to see it. And it's
Right.
but then there's just gonna be like poop stuck in it. Like I don't
Mhm. Yep.
Do you remember a time or a story come to mind about maybe like a close call or something that was kind of scary or dangerous? Because we kind of learned from those stories too.
Oh, there's a lot of scary things in 28 years. Oh, and working for a vet clinic for 13, you see like
Mm,
everything, right? Like
right.
we saw it all. I became very paranoid in my life working at like a vet clinic. Oh goodness. So one thing, and it wasn't even anything that happened to me, but I'm going to just throw this out here because this is what sticks with me all the time when it comes to like social media and running a business and how fast it can turn. There was this story, and I tell this to my girls as like a cover your booty scenario. I'm all about covering your booty. I've learned throughout the years. And it was a story on one of the social media outlets. And it happened to be a mobile groomer ended up doing a dog and gave the dog back to grandma. And they received a call later on that day from the dad stating, "What did you do to my dog?" And the dog had been limping, and there was this whole thing behind it. And the owner went on social media and blasted this groomer all
Mm.
over the place about abuse and all these things. And here to find out, they ended up looking at there was video footage in the house. I'm assuming it was like a well, Ring didn't exist back then, but there was most certainly a camera that they found out that grandma let the dog out and the dog got hit by a car.
Oh no.
So dad comes home, grandma didn't say anything, blamed it on the groomer. Dad goes on social media, blasts and destroys this groomer's reputation, and this groomer ended up having to close. He did go on after he found out and tried to make it better, but at that point, this
Yeah.
person's whole business and their whole livelihood just shattered from all of this. And
Mm-hmm.
that is scary to me. That is like my biggest. So I'm all about cover your booty, have cameras in your shop, have safety protocols in place, have the quick releases. I mean, even just as simple as having a quick release on every table, just all these things. But I would have to say that's probably a story that, even though it didn't happen to me, stuck with me to this day. And I think I was a new baby business owner too, and I was scared crapless. I'm like,
Yeah.
it can turn so fast. So
Yeah.
that's my scary, that's
And
my
how
one that has stuck with me.
how wild of the grandma not to say anything, or if she knew, if the dog was take it to, if she knew it got hit by
Right?
a car, like why would you not take it to the vet or something?
Uh-huh.
It's so crazy to me. Anyway.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
right? And my guess is she was afraid to get blamed for it or whatever. But yeah, like she let the groomer take the fall for it. And they ended up finding out later. So there's just so many stories. I told you, I'm like a cover your booty. I tell my girls all the time, I'm like, all of our waivers and all the things and the policies and the procedures and protocols that we have in place all come from a place of fear. Because I'm like, this happens. This happens in the real
Mm-hmm.
world. So, yep,
Yeah,
that's
for
my
sure.
scary story. That one has stuck with me.
This sometimes can be scary depending, but every groomer pet owner has one. What's your best poop story?
Oh, I personally actually don't have one, which is shocking. I know I don't actually have one, but I do have to say, we have my poor groomers. We have this great Pyrenees that comes in that clockwork. If you're drying him, he'll poof all over the place. Or, you finish him and he goes in the cage. And we're talking about he has smeared it all over. Every groomer, there's no getting away from it. But here's the funny thing that we learned about him. He'll still do it on the floor and if he's getting dried. But if we stick a towel in the cage with him, he'll poop on the towel and cover it up so he doesn't get it on him. So we've learned, like, you give him, we have to throw away the towel and we know it's going to happen. But if you give him a towel in there, he'll poop on the towel and he'll cover it up and he doesn't get it all over himself.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
He goes from just making a poop
Yeah. And
tornado basically to just, I'll just cover it up.
yeah, as long as he has a way to cover it up, he will not get it all over the place. So we learned how to do
Interesting.
that. Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, sure.
Yeah, I
I
know.
My dad's dog, I'm giving him one of those doggy DNA things because he's a rescue and we don't really know what he is. He kind of looks like a Min Pin Dachshund something mix. You know what I mean? I don't know. But
Right.
anyway, if you go out with him to take him on a walk or to go to the bathroom or whatever, he likes his privacy. Like you have to kind of turn and be like, I'm not watching. You can go. You know what I mean? Like you have to.
When I worked at the vet clinic, we would walk because the dogs. So right now we do staggered drop off times throughout the day, but at the vet clinic, it was you dropped off in the morning and you picked up later on in the day, and everyone dropped off between like 8 and 10. So we would walk the dogs and stuff, and there was this one dog that would poop on a driving block, like a parking block, like on the actual, and I'm like, why are you like, stop the poop directly on this little parking block? And I'm like, okay, that's where they like to go.
Yeah,
Yep.
they're creatures of habit, really.
They are. They are.
This is a part of the podcast. It's rapid fire questions, just kind of fun stuff, nothing too serious. It's called Quick
Okay.
Snips. Are you ready?
Good thing we did this in the morning, because if we did this later on in the day, so my 8-hour period is like 6 to 2. And if you get me after 2 o'clock, my brain doesn't function. Okay, let's do this.
Your favorite animal from a TV show or movie?
Oh, Timon. Timon from Lion King.
Good one. Your go-to coffee order?
Oh, I'm very basic. I'm an Americano black. I don't
Okay.
have anything crazy.
Okay, your most used emoji?
Oh, the slants. I call it my everyday face, and it's that not amused face. Yeah, I don't even know what it's called. It's the one that has slanties. I'm like, yep, that's my everyday face.
The not amused face. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, yes. Thank you.
What was the last thing you binge watched? If you even had time with everything you do.
Oh, there's always time. Stranger Things, actually, because it just came out.
Me too. It was so good.
Yeah.
It was, okay.
It was really good. Yes.
Okay. One product or tool you can't live without.
Ooh, my Botanica finishing scissoring spray.
Okay. Because this is the Groomer's Choice podcast, do you happen to have a favorite Groomer's Choice product?
Oh, I have one of your tubs. Like I love your tubs. I love your equipment. Yeah.
Okay. Good. And then we talked a little bit about this already with the unlimited resources and all those sorts of things. But to finish out the quick snips, what do you still wish to accomplish?
Oh gosh, a lot. That's a loaded question. Community. I want everyone to know that we're not competition.
Yeah.
Community. That's my biggest.
What I hear a lot, or I've heard other groomers say, is community over competition. You know, like there's enough dogs for everybody, and yeah. On the last episode, I had Sandy Georgie from Show Season was the last guest.
Oh yeah, she helped us out tremendously with the Pet Stylist Relief Fund too. So
yeah, and so when I said you were going to be next, so I started doing this thing where the last guest asks the next guest a question, and so she wanted to ask. So she wanted to ask you how she/Show Season can get involved and do some more stuff. She's like, I haven't heard from him in a while. What's going on? So yeah, what can she do to help, I guess? Or what can anybody do to, get more involved?
Oh, there's so many things to help us out. Even if it's just spreading the word, we could use a ton of help at shows. If you are interested in helping and working at the booth, this past year it was hard because we were taking speakers who were there. A lot of my board members are speakers. So like we were trying to run the booth and speak and run, fundraisers and stuff like that. So even just spreading the word, reaching out, poking us. Like we're all really busy. My board, if you think I'm busy, so is my board, right? There's like-minded people. We always have projects like poke us, like reach out and just send us an email and, hey, I would love to help. How can we do this? And just anyone to take the initiative helps us out instead of us having to worry about like really reaching out, we want to outreach obviously, but like our lives happen and this isn't paid. So this is all volunteer. We all have our own businesses, our own projects and everything else in our own lives. So if anyone really wants to help out, just reach out. We'll find a place, and no help is too small or big or any part of that. So
yeah. And I guess you should probably give Sandy a call because she's waiting to hear from you.
I will reach out to her, no problem. Yes, no, she was wonderful. She was one of the first people. Show Season went ahead and they donated $200 worth of products to every applicant that was approved. So so when I say we can get creative on anything, distributors, we have people who will do, you have $2,000 with us, however you want to divvy it up. So that's sort of Groomer Smart was another one who stepped up right when we started with Hurricane Helene and they're like, oh, here's $2,000 in gift certificates. Divvy it out however. So we could do 250, we could do 500. It was really cool. So there's so many different ways. I mean, even you guys having our banner at Hershey was huge because we had a presence that where we couldn't have a booth. So, I mean, there's nothing that's too small or any to help us. So whether we can get creative.
Like I said, our next guest is hopefully Blake
Oh,
Hernandez.
Blake.
But here's the
Gosh.
deal. Because I had to reschedule him, I actually have a question for him from Macy Pisa. So
Oh, okay.
your
Cool.
question can be for him or for Mackenzie Murphy. She's coming up in a week or so. And then
Okay.
I also on the schedule have a vet, Dr. Azalea Boyd. So your question can be for any of them because just some scheduling got messed up. So
Oh no, I like that. I think I'm going to choose because it's more in my realm and I really this is another thing that intrigues me. I think I'm going to choose the vet.
okay.
And the reason why is because there's this disconnect in the pet industry. And we are all these little separate entities, but we all need each other. And I'll tell you what, I learned so much as a vet groomer that it was so invaluable. I would love to know a vet's take on how we can work together more. How
Well,
can we bridge this gap? And it could be completely like, and if you need to, and I'm going to tell you this, if you when you do your podcast, your recording, any little variation of that, like how can we come together? What do you need from groomers to what do you need from our industry to help you in your industry and vice versa? Is that a good question? I know that's probably sort of what you're going to talk to them
right. And
about.
that I was going to say, because I met her at Super Zoo and she actually has her own podcast because I just like as well that she's a woman owned business, which
Hmm.
in the pet world, it seems like there's more of that, but she's also a person of color. And so she has a podcast all about just cultural differences in the pet world too, and like uplifting different minority groups and things like that. And then and at first I feel like she was hesitant to be on the podcast because she was like, but I'm not a groomer. And I was like, but I think, like you said, there's a lot of, you need to work together. And I think groomers see a pet more than a vet. So
Hmm.
like they spot a lot of the bumps, bruises, lumps, whatever. So, you got to work in tandem a little bit. So yeah, exactly what you're
Yeah.
kind of saying. Like, how can it be better? But yeah.
How can it be
Okay.
better? Or yeah, if it was supposed to be, and I'll go along Sandy's lines, how can I help bridge this gap? Because it's actually so I always speak to groomer, not always. I've spoken at the pet boarding and daycare, but my next step is actually getting into potentially the veterinarian world because there is such a huge divide. So, yeah, I mean, even if it's something, how can I make that happen? Like, what does the veterinarian side need
Yeah.
from me?
Yeah,
You
for
know,
sure.
let's do it that way. Let's do that. No, I'm intrigued. I like this.
To wrap it all up in a little
Mhm.
bow here at the end, you can go ahead. You have so many things going on, but you can go ahead and tell everyone where they can find you, website, social media, what speaking engagements you have coming up, upcoming shows or events or products to be on like I said, so many things. But basically,
I have a lot.
what can we be on the lookout for from you? Ready, go.
Okay. So the easiest way to find me, social media, I go by The Ambitious Groomer. I do have a website, theambitiousgroomer.com, that you can keep tabs on, but that's sort of where that's my hub of where you can find all the things that I sort of do. Keep an eye out for snappedgear.com is SNAPT gear.com is where you can find out information about our new product launch, a new safety. I'm all about safety. And upcoming shows, I am scheduled for Atlanta, so I'll be at Groomed. I will be at the Rocky Mountains. I'll be in Buffalo. Buffalo has it's on its third year, Pet Palooza. So I'll be at that in March as well. So, but I'm also follow the Ambitious Groomer or go and hop on the ambitiousgroomer.com if you're interested in the hive mind and joining in before, get on the ground level and build a business owner community.
Yeah. And then Pet Stylist Relief Fund, that website's just Pet Stylist Relief Fund, right?
Yep. PetStylistReliefFund.com.
Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha.
And you can find there's lots of ways to help out. Our application is on there. We have actual continuing education webinars that are fundraisers that are up there. So if you're looking to learn from some of the industry people too on your own, we have a few different ones on that. And look for us at the shows and come and stop by and tell us where you heard about us, because that really helps us to figure that out too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, awesome. I think that's everything. I just want to tell you, I really like your lamp too. This little swirly bob thing.
Costco.
Really?
Costco.
Nice.
It was like $40 or something. Isn't that adorable? I know. And it has like 3 different. Yeah. No, I love it.
That is
it's
cool.
a nice little side lamp.
Yeah, the whole time I'm like, ooh, that's a cool lamp. Like
Costco.
If there's anything else you want to say, speak now or forever hold your peace.
No, I had so much fun. Thank you so much. I appreciate all of this.
Yeah, I'm glad this worked out and we did it. We got it done. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Groomer Tales, a podcast by Groomer's Choice. Please rate, review, subscribe, and comment wherever it is that you listen to your podcasts. If you have any questions or comments about something you heard in this episode, please feel free to email us at groomertalespod@gmail.com. Until next time.